The British monarchy, a symbol of power, tradition, and survival. For over 1,000 years, it's been the beating heart of one of the most influential nations in the world. From a time when kings ruled with absolute authority, to today's figurehead monarchs, the monarchy has endured through revolutions, betrayals, and moments of unimaginable scandal. It all began in 1066. The clash of armies at the Battle of Hastings changed the fate of an entire nation. William the Conqueror, with his blood-stained crown, set in motion a dynasty that would shape the future of England for centuries to come. But behind the grandeur, behind the pomp and circumstance, lurked a darker truth, a kingdom built on conquest, power, and the thirst for control. Fast forward to the 16th century, where one man's desperation for a son would tear the very fabric of the Catholic Church. Henry VIII's break from Rome wasn't just a religious shift, it was a revolution that forever altered the relationship between king and subjects. 6 wives, countless battles, and a kingdom on the brink of collapse. All for a single heir. But power, as always, has its price. A century later, the monarchy was thrown into chaos by its own bloodline. A king was executed, his own people demanding justice, and the monarchy was nearly erased from history. For a brief time, England was ruled by a man who would die alone, without a crown to wear. Yet, the monarchy survived. It always survives. From the ashes of revolution rose the glory of restoration, and a new battle for control was fought, not on the fields of war, but within the walls of the palace. The winds of change were blowing, but the throne remained. This is the story of the British monarchy, how it rose, fell, and rose again. How it survived the darkest betrayals, the fiercest rebellions, and the greatest battles. And how, even today, it continues to hold sway over a modern world that sometimes seems to have forgotten the power of the past. Get ready. The crown's history is filled with blood, power, and survival. And it's a history you're about to witness. The story of the British monarchy begins long before castles and crowns, in a land divided, chaotic, and on the edge of destruction. The year is 878. England, as we know it, is not yet a unified kingdom. Instead, it's a patchwork of rival kingdoms, constantly battling for power. It's a world of sword and shield, where the survival of each kingdom hangs by a thread. At the heart of this fractured land is one man, Alfred, King of Wessex. With Viking raids ravaging the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, Alfred's leadership would soon define the fate of England. The Vikings were fierce, relentless, and their ships arrived like dark clouds, bringing devastation with every raid. The Battle of Edington, fought in the summer of 878, would become the turning point. Against all odds, Alfred, with his ragtag army, shattered the Viking forces. But it wasn't just victory on the battlefield that set Alfred apart. It was his vision, the vision of a united England under one rule. Alfred's success wasn't just military, it was political. After Edington, he set about building a kingdom that would resist the relentless Viking threat. Fortifications were built, towns reorganized, and a new sense of identity was forged. Alfred wasn't just a king, he was a founder of England, setting the foundation for what would later become one of the most powerful monarchies in history. But the work wasn't over. His son, Edward the Elder, and his grandson, Athelstan, would carry on his legacy, securing the kingdom's borders and continuing the battle for unity. Athelstan, in particular, cemented his place in history as the first king of all England. In 927, he defeated the last Viking strongholds and brought together the fractured kingdoms of England under one banner. For the first time in history, the idea of England as a single, unified kingdom took shape. But the price of unity was steep. Power struggles, battles for succession, and constant Viking threats continued to haunt the new kingdom. England, born from warfare and strife, would face more challenges, but the seeds of monarchy had been sown, and no invader would ever fully uproot them. The Vikings may have raided the shores of Britain, but it was the blood and sweat of men like Alfred and Athelstan that laid the first stones of the English monarchy. The Battle of Edington wasn't just a victory on the field, it was the moment England began to rise as a unified kingdom, setting the stage for a monarchy that would endure for centuries to come. As the Vikings sailed back to their icy northern lands, Alfred's legacy was already taking root, and the crown of England was slowly, but surely, becoming something no invader could steal away. The British monarchy was born in the chaos of war, with early kings like Alfred the Great uniting a fractured England. But as the kingdom grew stronger, it faced a new wave of invaders, the Vikings, who threatened its very survival. Then, in 1066, a defining moment came. The Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror defeated King Harold, ended Anglo-Saxon rule and began a new era. With William's victory, the Normans rose to power, and the Plantagenet dynasty would follow, forever shaping the monarchy through conflict and power struggles. The crown, once forged by Alfred, now faced a new reality. The battle for control had only just begun. The future of the throne would be determined by the strength and ambition of the Normans and early Plantagenets. The winds of change howled through England in 1066. The Saxon throne, once solid under the rule of King Edward the Confessor, lay vacant, and a world-changing battle was on the horizon. Across the English Channel, William, Duke of Normandy, claimed his right to the throne, asserting that he was the true heir. But England, under King Harold, had already chosen its monarch, and the stage was set for a bloody clash. The Battle of Hastings became the defining moment of England's fate. With a swift, brutal strike, William's forces overwhelmed Harold's army. The Anglo-Saxon king fell, and William the Conqueror was crowned King of England. This wasn't just a victory in battle, it was the birth of a new era, the birth of the Norman dynasty. But William's conquest wasn't just about taking a throne, it was about fundamentally reshaping the entire structure of England. William did not rule like the Saxon kings before him. His victory was followed by a ruthless consolidation of power. The feudal system took root, transforming England into a country of vassals and lords. Land was distributed to William's supporters, and the very landscape of power was redrawn. The Domesday Book, a massive survey of England's lands and resources, was commissioned to record and control every inch of the kingdom. It was not just a tool of governance, it was a testament to the sheer scope of Norman control over the realm. But even the might of William and his descendants couldn't shield the crown from the tensions simmering beneath the surface. By the 12th century, the throne had passed to the Plantagenets, whose reign would be marked by bloody wars, complex alliances, and feuds that shook the very foundation of England. One monarch, in particular, would embody the troubled relationship between king and subjects, King John. King John's reign was defined by arrogance, cruelty, and a series of failed wars. His heavy taxation, his failure to protect the kingdom's borders, and his disdain for the nobility created a powder keg of discontent. It was the rebellion of his barons that would forever alter the balance of power. In 1215, at Runnymede, John was forced to sign the Magna Carta, a document that limited the king's power and asserted that even the monarch was not above the law. It was a revolutionary moment, signaling the rise of Parliament and the shift from absolute rule to a more balanced, constitutional monarchy. But was King John justified in his refusal to follow the Magna Carta? Did he see it as an unjust encroachment on his authority, or was it the final blow to a monarchy already teetering on the edge? The Magna Carta didn't just change the monarchy, it marked the beginning of the end of unchecked royal power, creating a legacy that would ripple through centuries of English rule. The Plantagenets had built the foundation of the modern monarchy, but it was their struggles, their failures, and the constant push and pull between monarchy and parliament that truly defined their reign. From the Battle of Hastings to the Magna Carta, the course of England, and its monarchy, was forever altered, setting the stage for a future where the crown would never again rule without question. Entwined with conflict and conquest. But the crown's journey was far from over. The Norman conquest had irrevocably changed the course of England's monarchy, setting the stage for centuries of power struggles, shifting dynasties, and political upheaval. By the time the Plantagenets rose to power, the monarchy was already deeply entwined with conflict and conquest. But the crown's journey was far from over. Fast forward to the 15th century, where the turbulent Wars of the Roses would give birth to a new, powerful dynasty, the Tudors. With Henry VII's victory and the unification of the warring factions, the stage was set for a new kind of monarchy, one that would forever alter England's religious and political landscape. The rise of the Tudor dynasty was forged in blood, betrayal, and ambition. The Wars of the Roses had torn England apart, a brutal, decades-long battle between the houses of Lancaster and York. But when the final battle was fought, and Richard III lay dead on the field, it was Henry Tudor, a Lancaster claimant, who emerged victorious. The year was 1485, and with it came the dawn of a new era, one where the fate of England would forever be intertwined with the bloodline of the Tudors. Henry VII, the first Tudor king, secured his throne not only through the sword but through marriage, uniting the warring factions by taking Elizabeth of York as his queen. The monarchy was stable, but it wasn't until his son, Henry VIII, took the throne in 1509 that the Tudor story would truly begin to make its mark on history. Henry VIII was a man of immense power, but also a man of insatiable desires. His reign would forever be defined by 6 marriages, each one shaping the future of England in ways no one could have predicted. Henry was obsessed with securing a male heir, but his first marriage to Catherine of Aragon produced only a daughter, Mary. The desire for a son turned into a desperate need, and when Pope Clement VII refused to annul his marriage, Henry did what no English king had ever done before. He broke from the Catholic Church. The year was 1534, and Henry VIII was no longer just the King of England, he was the head of the Church of England. The creation of the Church wasn't simply a religious shift, it was a seismic break that reshaped the very foundation of the English monarchy. Henry's decision to seize control of religious power was nothing short of revolutionary. It wasn't just about love or heirs, it was about power. The monarchy, once subject to the Pope, was now above all earthly authority. But the consequences of Henry's move were catastrophic. The dissolution of the monasteries, a ruthless campaign to seize church lands, left England divided. Tens of thousands of lives were torn apart, as monks and nuns were displaced, and the once powerful Catholic Church was dismantled. It was a kingdom reshaped in the king's image, powerful, but brutal. Henry's personal life, though, was a storm of scandal and heartbreak. 6 marriages, each one ending in divorce, death, or the beheading of his wives. Catherine of Aragon was cast aside, and Boleyn executed, and Jane Seymour gave him his longed-for son, Edward. But the monarchy's stability was always in question, and Henry's actions left a legacy of chaos, shifting alliances, and bloody conflicts. Then came Elizabeth I, the daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. In 1558, she ascended the throne, and under her reign, England would experience its most glorious chapter. Elizabeth was a monarch unlike any other, cunning, powerful, and unyielding. Her reign ushered in the Elizabethan Age, a period of artistic and cultural renaissance. But it was the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588 that truly solidified her place in history. The once feared Spanish fleet, the most powerful navy in the world, was decimated by the English forces. The victory was not just military, it was a triumph of England's growing power on the world stage. Elizabeth I's reign stretched for nearly 45 years, a period of stability and expansion, but one also marked by political intrigue, personal sacrifice, and an unshakable sense of duty. Her refusal to marry, the so-called Virgin Queen, added to her mythos, cementing her as one of history's most iconic monarchs. But what started with Henry VIII's dramatic break from Rome, the severing of England's ties to the Catholic Church, had set in motion an unstoppable force. The monarchy had been reshaped. Henry's thirst for a male heir had cost him wives and political alliances. Yet, the Tudor dynasty survived. And in Elizabeth, it would find its most enduring symbol of power and legacy. So, was Henry VIII's break with the Catholic Church a ruthless power grab or a necessary move to secure England's future? It's a question that still echoes through history. His actions reshaped the monarchy and religion alike, leaving a mark that still defines the role of the British monarch today. But it was Elizabeth I who turned the crown into a symbol of unassailable authority, steering England through the storm and into an age of glory. As the Tudor line began to fade, the throne passed to the Stuarts, a family whose reign would be defined by the rising tensions between monarchy and parliament. The long-standing struggle for royal authority would escalate, and the seeds of rebellion were planted. It was under James I, and later his son Charles I, that the monarchy would face its most significant challenge yet, the English Civil War. What Henry VIII had started, in terms of royal power, was about to be tested in ways no one could have predicted, igniting a conflict that would nearly destroy the monarchy altogether. The Stuart dynasty was a house that seemed destined for conflict. It began with James I, the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, who ascended the English throne in 1603, uniting England and Scotland under one crown. But unity didn't mean peace. James, with his belief in the divine right of kings, immediately began to clash with Parliament. He ruled with a sense of absolute power, demanding that no one challenge his authority, least of all the Parliament, which he saw as little more than a necessary nuisance. James' son, Charles I, inherited this same unyielding belief. From the very start of his reign in 1625, tensions between him and Parliament grew into an open conflict. Charles, a king who thought himself above the law, believed in ruling without parliamentary interference. He dissolved Parliament multiple times and raised taxes without their consent, all while desperately trying to fund wars. His refusal to compromise turned the simmering discontent into open rebellion. The tensions finally erupted in 1642, when the English Civil War began. The country was divided, on one side, the Royalists, loyal to King Charles, on the other, the Parliamentarians, who saw in Charles a monarch who had lost touch with the people and the law. Battles raged across the country. The Royalists, with their experienced cavalry, clashed against the Parliamentarians, led by figures like Oliver Cromwell, whose disciplined new model armies slowly turned the tide of the war. In 1645, Cromwell's forces decisively defeated the Royalists at the Battle of Naseby, and it became clear that Charles's cause was doomed. But even as the tide turned against him, Charles refused to back down. In 1649, he was captured, tried for treason, and, in a shocking and unprecedented move, executed by beheading. The monarchy was abolished. England had become a republic, ruled by Cromwell, who declared himself Lord Protector. The monarchy was gone, and for the first time in history, England stood without a king. Cromwell's rule, however, was not as enduring as he had hoped. His government was marked by increasing authoritarianism and military dictatorship. After his death in 1658, his son Richard, unable to control the fractured state he'd inherited, was quickly overthrown. The British people had grown tired of the Republic. In 1660, after nearly a decade without a monarch, Charles II, the son of the executed Charles I, was invited back to England. The monarchy was restored, but it was a monarchy forever changed. The restoration of Charles II marked a shift. Gone was the absolute power once wielded by his grandfather James I and his father Charles I. Now, the monarchy was forced to share power with Parliament. No longer could a king rule by divine right. The English monarchy had been reshaped by years of rebellion and republican rule. Charles II returned to a country weary of war, desiring stability above all else. His reign, though filled with scandals and personal indulgence, restored much of the pageantry and authority of the monarchy. But the lessons of the Civil War were never far behind. Parliament had proven that it could strip the monarchy of its power, and it would never fully return to the days of unchecked royal authority. The question remains, was the execution of Charles I justified? Was the monarchy, in its absolute form, a dangerous relic that needed to be destroyed? Or would England have been better off with a king who ruled with divine right? The monarchy survived, yes, but at a great cost. The Restoration marked a turning point, a monarchy tempered by the fire of rebellion and the ashes of civil war. The Stuarts, though back on the throne, could never again rule with the same power they had before. The English monarchy had learned its lesson. It would be forced to share power, to bow to the will of Parliament. And though the crown may have returned, the echoes of the Civil War, and the loss of absolute power, would be felt for generations. The turmoil of the Stuart dynasty and the English Civil War left the monarchy in ruins, but the restoration of Charles II in 1660 brought it back. Yet, by 1688, tensions between the Crown and Parliament erupted once again. The Glorious Revolution brought William and Mary to the throne, but with a crucial shift, royal power was now limited, marking the birth of a constitutional monarchy where Parliament held the true authority. In 1688, England was on the brink of upheaval. King James II, a monarch whose Catholic sympathies and absolutist policies had alienated much of the country, faced a crisis that would change the course of history. His rule had pushed England to the edge, and what followed would be nothing short of revolutionary. William of Orange, husband to James's Protestant daughter Mary, was invited by a group of English nobles to take the throne. The result was the Glorious Revolution, an event that unfolded without the bloodshed of traditional rebellions but with the force of a nation's demand for change. William and Mary's ascension was not just a shift in leadership, it was the beginning of the end for absolute monarchy in Britain. The monarchy, now under the control of William and Mary, was forced to accept the terms of the Bill of Rights, a revolutionary document that drastically limited royal power. No longer could a king rule without the consent of Parliament. The days of divine right were over. Now, it was Parliament that held the real power. The Crown, once supreme, was now a figurehead, bound by law and the will of the people. The Glorious Revolution didn't just change who sat on the throne, it transformed the monarchy itself. A new era of parliamentary democracy began to take root, as the balance of power shifted away from the Crown and towards the people's representatives. The monarchy's power was severely reduced, yet it still remained an institution at the heart of Britain's identity. Did William and Mary's rule truly mark the end of absolute monarchy in Britain? Or was the monarchy still too powerful, simply operating under new terms? The answer lay not in the monarchs themselves, but in the system they were forced to accept, one where Parliament, not the Crown, would determine the nation's fate. The monarchy was no longer absolute, but it still held sway, a symbol of unity and continuity in an ever-changing world. The Glorious Revolution had established a constitutional monarchy, limiting the power of the Crown and elevating Parliament's authority. But as the years passed, the monarchy evolved, and by the early 18th century, the Crown was once again at the helm of an empire. The Georgian era ushered in a new chapter, where Britain's monarchy adapted to the complexities of governing a growing empire and navigating the social and political shifts of the time. It was under the Georgian monarchs that Britain would expand its reach across the globe and begin the industrial transformation that would reshape the nation's future. The Georgian era saw the British monarchy evolve in the midst of a rapidly changing world. From George I to George IV, the Crown navigated through wars, political strife, and the early stages of industrialization. Under the Georgian monarchs, Britain's empire began to expand at an unprecedented rate, laying the groundwork for what would become the largest empire the world had ever seen. The Industrial Revolution also took hold, transforming the economy, society, and the very landscape of England itself. But it was Queen Victoria, who ascended the throne in 1837, who would define an entire era. Her reign, which lasted an extraordinary 63 years, marked the height of the British Empire. As Empress of vast colonies across the globe, Victoria's influence reached far beyond Britain's shores. Yet, her rule was not without personal tragedy. The death of her beloved husband, Prince Albert, in 1861 plunged her into deep grief, and the effect of this loss profoundly shaped both her personal life and her reign. Despite the sadness, Victoria's reign saw Britain become a cultural and industrial powerhouse, leading the world in innovation and progress. The expansion of the British Empire continued, while at home, societal shifts took root, changing the lives of ordinary Britons and cementing Britain's place in history as a global superpower. Was Queen Victoria's reign truly a golden age for Britain? How did her personal grief shape the monarchy and its legacy? The answers lie in the profound transformations of the time, the vast empire she ruled, the industrial advancements she presided over, and the deep personal loss that defined her later years. The Victorian era marked the height of British power, but as the 20th century began, the world was changing. The monarchy, having thrived under Queen Victoria, would soon face the challenges of 2 world wars, testing its survival and forcing it to adapt to a new, modern world. The 20th century would redefine the monarchy's role in a rapidly shifting global landscape. The 20th century was a time of immense upheaval, and the British monarchy found itself at the heart of 2 world wars that would test its strength and relevance. During World War I, King George V stood as a symbol of unity, but it was his son, George VI, who would truly prove the monarchy's resilience. When World War II erupted, George VI, who had never expected to be king, emerged as a steadfast leader, keeping the nation united during its darkest hours. His leadership helped solidify the monarchy's role as a stabilizing force through the war's devastation. However, the monarchy was also shaken by a crisis that threatened its very foundation, the abdication of Edward VIII in 1936. In a decision that shocked the world, Edward VIII gave up the throne to Mary Wallace Simpson, an American divorcee. This unprecedented move, done for love, created a scandal that reverberated through the monarchy and altered its future. Edward VIII's abdication raised serious questions about the role of the monarch in a modern society, but it also solidified George VI's place on the throne, leading to a period of much-needed stability. In the post-World War II era, the monarchy faced a new challenge: modernization. The empire was dissolving, and Britain was transitioning to a post-colonial world. It was during this time that Queen Elizabeth II ascended the throne in 1952. Under her reign, the monarchy adapted to changing times, embracing new technologies, media, and public relations strategies that allowed it to remain relevant in a modern, globalized world. The monarchy had survived 2 world wars, a royal scandal, and the dismantling of an empire. But with Queen Elizabeth II at the helm, the British monarchy was ready for the 20th century's challenges. Did Edward VIII's abdication do more harm than good to the monarchy? How did World War II change the royal family's image? These questions still linger, as the monarchy's role in Britain and the world continues to evolve. The British royal family today finds itself facing an increasingly complex and evolving landscape. Queen Elizabeth II's reign was defined by stability, longevity, and the transformation of Britain into a modern global power. Her passing in 2022 marked the end of an era, leaving her son, King Charles III, to lead the monarchy into a new chapter, one shaped by both the weight of tradition and the demands of a changing world. Charles III ascended to the throne in September 2022, after Queen Elizabeth II's passing. The transition was seamless, with Charles prepared for the role after years of waiting and preparation. His coronation on May 6, 2023, at Westminster Abbey was a grand event, signaling the continuation of the monarchy. However, this new chapter was not without its challenges. As king, Charles III faces not just the inherited responsibilities of the crown but also the pressures of modernizing the institution. The British monarchy must now navigate a post-colonial world, with countries reassessing their relationships with the crown. The days of an empire stretching across continents are over, and the monarchy is finding new ways to adapt its role in the modern world. However, King Charles III's reign has already been marked by personal trials. In 2024, it was revealed that he had been diagnosed with cancer, leading to a reduction in his public engagements. Queen Camilla, his wife, stepped in to represent him at several important events, including the Commonwealth Day Service and the Royal Maundy Service. Despite his health challenges, the monarchy continues to function, with King Charles III remaining a figurehead of stability and tradition during uncertain times. But the royal family's modern challenges are not just health-related. The British monarchy, long a symbol of unity and continuity, is not immune to the intense scrutiny of the media and public opinion. Scandals continue to swirl around several members of the royal family, testing the monarchy's ability to maintain its relevance. Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, remains one of the most controversial figures within the royal family. His ties to the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein have not only damaged his personal reputation but have also cast a long shadow over the royal family's image. Recently, it was revealed that Prince Andrew sought £3 billion from China with the help of an alleged Chinese spy. This revelation raised serious concerns about the misuse of royal influence for personal gain. His actions continue to threaten the monarchy's image, and the royal family has distanced itself from his involvement in public life. Prince Andrew's scandals, however, show no signs of disappearing, and his future role within the royal family remains unclear. Meanwhile, Princess Kate, the Princess of Wales, has faced her own challenges. In March 2024, it was revealed that Kate had been diagnosed with cancer. The news came as a shock to many, but the princess has since entered remission. As she focuses on her recovery, she has spent time at her parents' estate in Berkshire, stepping back from her royal duties for a while. Her recovery has been closely followed by the media, but the support of the British public has been unwavering, with many showing empathy for her and her family. Despite the personal setbacks, Kate's resilience and role within the monarchy continue to be a beacon of strength and compassion for the royal family. Perhaps the most dramatic shift in recent royal history has been the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from royal duties. In a move that shocked the world, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex decided to step down from their roles as senior members of the royal family in 2020. Their exit was officially confirmed as they sought to carve out a more independent life, free from the responsibilities and pressures of royal life. Since then, they have moved to California, where they have focused on personal projects, charitable endeavors, and raising their family. While the decision to leave sparked a media frenzy, it also marked a pivotal moment in the royal family's history. The monarchy, once an unyielding institution, had to confront its own vulnerability in the face of modern demands for individual autonomy and privacy. The couple's departure raised critical questions about the future of the royal family and whether such traditional institutions can survive in an age where personal freedom is a fundamental value. Recently, there have been discussions surrounding their potential return to the UK, but no official statements have been made regarding this. The couple remains polarizing figures, with some supporting their desire for independence and others criticizing their actions as an abandonment of duty. The tension between Harry and the rest of the royal family has only intensified, particularly after the release of Harry's memoir, which further complicated the family dynamic. The modern royal family faces the challenge of remaining relevant in an era where public opinion is increasingly shaped by social media and the constant scrutiny of the press. King Charles III, while continuing his mother's legacy of duty and service, is confronted with a monarchy that must adapt to a world that no longer automatically accepts hereditary rule as sacred. The monarchy's role in a post-colonial, post-empire world is being redefined, and the family's ability to modernize while maintaining its traditional foundations will determine its future. Queen Elizabeth II's reign was a period of unmatched stability, but her passing has left a void, and King Charles III must now prove that the monarchy can remain a cornerstone of British life in the 21st century. The British royal family must contend with scandal, shifting public opinion, and the demands of modernity, all while balancing the age-old tradition of the crown. Did Edward VIII's abdication do more harm than good to the monarchy? Did the monarchy's role change after World War II, and how has modern society affected its relevance? These are questions that will continue to shape the royal family's future as they work to maintain their place in the hearts of the British people. The royal family's survival, or its transformation, depends on its ability to modernize while staying true to its historical legacy. The future of the British monarchy is uncertain, but the monarchy's enduring power and influence will likely remain a key part of Britain's identity for years to come. What do you think the future holds for the British monarchy? Will it survive the modern era, or will it continue to face challenges from within and beyond the royal family? The monarchy's next chapter is being written today, and it remains to be seen how the crown will adapt to the world in this time and age. From monarchs ruling unchallenged to an institution reshaped by modern forces, the British monarchy has survived centuries of challenges. It's weathered wars, rebellions, scandals, and a constantly changing world. But as we look to the future, the question remains, what does its legacy mean for the future of monarchy in the modern world? Can an institution built on centuries of tradition continue to thrive in an age that demands change and accountability? What's the most shocking moment in British royal history for you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going. If you enjoyed this detailed narration into the British monarchy, Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more historical stories. Stay tuned for our next exploration into history, and thank you for watching.